What's good, everybody? It's 6 o'clock. It's about that time. It's Friday night. Hustle and Grow Producer Challenge. We're going to talk mixing tonight. We're going to make our stuff sound as good as we possibly can, give you some things that are repeatable that you're going to be able to work on over the process of the upcoming weeks and months. And it's all coming next on the Hustle and Grow Producer Challenge. Glad you tapped in. Here we go.
This is a Crush Audio production.
It's Friday. I want to shout out all of my partners out around Nashville and the greater Nashville area. What's good, everybody? My name is Ron. I am Crush Audio, Grammy-nominated producer and engineer. Shout out to Panama Quick. Shout out to Sean G. Shout out to BK Massive. Shout out to Cam Crooks. Nicholas the Great. Star 67, I see you. MC10. New song just dropped today. Drug Problems. All DSPs. Check it out. King Doe up in Louisville. Derek Wade Douglas. Bo Payne. Nate from IMG. Tony Carpenter. Sean G. Robbie Cash. Navi the Terrible. Holy shit, that's a long list of names. Want to say what's up to everybody. I'm going to start it off real quick in the chat. What's good? My man Derek Douglas is in the chat. Derek Wayne is in the house, and we are talking about mixing tonight. First of all, how was everybody's week? What's going on, buddy? How was your week? Anything exciting or productive that went on this week? I could tell you guys that it's been exciting over the last couple months. What did everyone do this week? It's been exciting over the last couple months. Just going to put the question up there, and I know people will probably trickle in here. But, you know, over the last couple of months, I've been wearing, like, a bunch of different hats. Yeah, man, I definitely want to talk soon, for sure, brother. Like in person or, you know, on the phone. But how many of you have to deal with wearing different hats? And maybe that means like juggling your career and your family life. And, you know, ooh, sweet. Love to hear that. You know, it could be something as simple as, hey, I'm trying to juggle my career. I'm trying to juggle my, you know, my family responsibilities. I'm trying to put bread on the table for my family. So maybe I'm working a job that's totally outside of the music business. And you're thinking, like, I'm never going to be able to get out of this cycle, you know. I've been through this in a few different areas in my life. And, you know, the one thing that's always kept me afloat, I was thinking about it the other day. The one thing that's been able to keep me afloat, yeah, anxiety is right, is having multiple, you know, multiple revenue streams set up. And for myself, that would look something like not just saying you have you only, or not just billing or charging or focusing people's energy on the fact that you can only do one thing. You know, we're capable of multitasking and doing several different things. Now, I would highly encourage you to, like, if you really have a desire to be in this space and be in the music space, I would say I would say, you know, try and find a job that's not one of two things. Either a job that allows you to advance yourself while they're sort of paying for it. What do I mean by that? I mean, how many of you have had like a bullshit job and just had it to keep paying the bills? Sorry, I'm talking and writing at the same time, and I am going to read the comments as well. But, how many... So like my point is you either have a great gig that, you're making all kind of bread in. Well, if you were doing that, then, music would be just a hobby piece for you, and you'd have to find and prioritize a way to make that a part of your life as a hobby. That doesn't mean you can't do high quality work. That doesn't mean you can't do great shit. It's just that you would have another priority that was a bit above that. But assuming that music is your life, and that's really all you're really doing, that doesn't mean that you're that you're not capable of spending time. I'm a huge believer in you have to go out and live to be able to have something to write about as a songwriter, to have something to be able to draw upon emotion-wise as a creative. And so what I'm saying is, let's say I'm an individual producer or whatever. Maybe I do, because I have the skill set in something else. I find a way to monetize that something else. Maybe I have thousands of people that follow me on social media, and I'm going to take advantage of that because I also have a friend that does fashion. And I'm going to link these two guys up. We're going to set up a business, and we're going to monetize that passion. Maybe it's you have the ability to teach, the things that you already know how to do. Maybe just because you don't think you're an expert in, and you could play with the big boys and be teaching a 10,000 seat arena or something like that, it doesn't mean you don't have knowledge and you don't have something to offer. I mean, there are, provided you don't have, you pass the test, so to speak. What about speaking at or doing seminars or doing things around school districts, younger kids, just explaining maybe how you write a song, or how does a simple melody come together? If you're a producer, or, then you start getting into the older age kids, it could be how do you make beats, and, everybody in that age space thinks that's really cool anyway. So it's sort of a captivating thing. But those are all branch off, just brainstorm ideas of different ways to have different revenue streams. Maybe you invest. Maybe you're in real estate. Maybe you flip homes. I know some of you do that on here. But, what do you do with your passive time when you are not creating? That would be my question. And now I'm going to read some of these. So I was asking, and Derek's answering about having a productive week, and we showed that one. And basically responding, saying wearing all the hats. I guess the point is, yeah, it does. It does. It takes, yeah, even playing games, man. You know what? I was a bit of a detractor of that. Like, sort of like, I felt like, well, man, I'm 54 years old. I'm not going to sit around and play video games. Like, it's just a waste of my time. But I waste time a whole bunch of other ways. Then I started trying to look at it the other way, where it improves, it allows you to escape, first of all. It's an escape. And it's also hand-eye coordination. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on there that you're actually gaining some skills and some muscle memory for some things that are applicable even in the music, certainly in the music and creative world, but in other areas as well, especially depending on what games you're playing. You know, if you're having to have a psychological escape, that's cool. If it's for tactical kind of shit, that's cool too. Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Yeah. I see my kids doing that, and it seems like it's a sense of community. And that's what I'm saying on here. Seems like it's a sense of community. Video game community is worth, billions of dollars. So that's something to think about too. If you're creative, what about having there's all these kids that put their video games up, and I'm going to get to the topic anyway, but there's all these kids that put their stuff up, and it's like they're just playing a video game live on YouTube or on Twitch or on one of these other channels, and they'll have thousands of people checking in on YouTube. It happens all the time as well. They'll have all these people checking in. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Think about if your music's playing underneath while they're playing their video game. They've done that. I know people that are in our group. I don't know if they're here right now, that have had placements with that. My son had a placement with one of those. So it's doable. Think about that. I know it's a tangent, but it was something I was thinking about. It's just like, how do you stay alive when shit goes quiet? Because I have months that are quiet. I have artists that go through certain periods where they're writing and then they release something. Then there's a period of time before the creative process breathes again and we're ready to go again. So, just something to think about. So, all right. Let's get into mixing. I have a track here that I started on last week. I'm gonna just play the. I think I just have the drums up right now. Oh no, I have the whole track up. Let's take the whole track up. And right now I'm going to show you, especially for beginners. This is something called Studio Rack. This is made by Wave, and this guy is cool. There are other ways of managing your master channel. This channel right here. All right. What's good, Nate? Glad to see you, brother. I just shouted you out at the beginning of the show. What up? What up? So yeah, where I'm going with this is I pulled up this track and I wanted to show you what I have on my master channel because I don't have anything else on any of these other channels. What I've done Yeah, Studio Rack's dope. How many of you know how many Waves Studio Rack? Question. That's the question. How many? Oh, I can't spell. Or aware of Wave Studio Rack. I wonder if it'll let me edit that. No. Okay. All right. So anyway, I say that because on Wave Studio Rack, the only thing I have put on here is what we call a multi-band compressor. And a multi-band compressor is basically, the way we look at that is there are 4 different compressors here. That's all. Just envision that there's a compressor that is handling from 16 hertz all the way up to about 95. That's all of our low end. Everything at the bottom. Sub-frequencies from 0 to 30, 40. You know, the stuff we can't hear but we can feel. Then, you know, between this area right here, kick drum, bass player. You know, these are the things we're hearing in this frequency. This compressor right here is handling that. And it goes so on and so forth. This compressor right here, from 96 all the way up to about 550, handles this mid-range. And so on and so forth. This guy handles the mid, this guy handles the highs. These are the controls for these guys. And I have a special, secret sauce setting that's been, say that 5 times fast. The secret sauce setting that has been passed down, that is shared, and that's what I'm employing right here. It's nothing amazing. What it's doing, I'll tell you what it's doing, which is more important. It is gently handling each one of these frequency ranges. So, you know, so these 4 ranges encompass everything that we can hear as humans, from 20 hertz to 20K, right? So from 20 hertz to 20K, that's our listening range. That's what we have. These 4 things are covering these ranges. So they're independently basically massaging each one of the frequency areas. Oh, you know, mid-range, you get too harsh and too nasty and too, you know, hurting my ears when I turn the volume up. Well, we need to whack you back down a little bit, you know? And, oh, something needs to come up a little bit. Well, we can go in there and we can either raise the gain, we can lower the amount of compression that's going on, see what happens there. You know, we could expand our sound. That's for another time. But for right now, this is just taming any area that happens to get out of hand. Okay? So just wanted to explain that. All right. Let me play a little bit of this for you. You may have heard this at the end of last week. This is Evolved. Okay. I'm going to take this area right here, and I'm going to loop it. I'm going to hit Command L. Okay. Oh, man. Yeah, and ask away, Nate. Hopefully that explains the compression in general. Let me just explain in general, guys. Any compressor doesn't matter. We're going to put a compressor on let's do it on the vocal. All right. Now, I'm getting away from what I was going to show you, but that's okay because this is even better. Let's just isolate the vocal real quick. I'm more worried about this one. Okay. So here you go. We're looking at this channel right here. I'll make it big. I am going to bring in a compressor. I'm just going to type up in Ableton. I can type up and I just hit CLA. I know that's one of CLA's compressors, so I quickly find it and boom, we got a compressor up here. This is called a FET compressor. Field effect transistor, I believe. You can check me on that. So a FET compressor is going to be our aggressive compressor. So FET compressor basically equals aggressive if we want it to be. And usually it is. Here's the fucked up thing about this compressor. It's not what you would think, right? This is the fastest attack, or I'm sorry, the slowest attack and the fastest release. So this is the fastest attack and fastest release on this compressor. It's sort of counterintuitive to what you would expect it to be, if that makes sense. Okay? So let's just run the vocal through. So I'm hitting it super fast and I'm knocking down the transients. So before, this is bypass. With? I'm going to take the attack back and I'm going to pull the release back. And I'm going to slow down the release. Watch the needle. What I did with the compression right there was, imagine a box, okay? And what the compressor is doing, what the attack and release are doing is you basically have a vocal, and we so up. So like those words, and we so, especially up, but especially and also the first attack, and we so up. Right? Without compression, listen. We so up. It's subtle because these are processed vocals, but I'm trying to smooth that out even more. So what I was saying about the box is, think about that vocal's inside the box, and whenever her dynamic range on this particular thing gets above the threshold, I want that to not happen. I want there to be a smaller dynamic range, which allows me to control that vocal even more. So, hit now. Hit now. And I can play with the attack and release. Hit now. There we go.
And we show up.
I'm trying to hear no real dynamic difference between the up and any of the other words. Let's listen in context.
Hit now, hit now. And we show up. Hit now,
Now I'll push it a little more.
and we show up. Hit now, hit now.
The longer release, since I pulled back on this fast release,
Hit now, hit now.
it'll start getting choppy. And sometimes we want that. We want that bounce a little bit, right?
Hit now, hit now.
You could feel it. It's sort of.
Hit now, hit now. Hit now, hit now. Hit now, hit now.
Okay.
And we show up. Hit now.
Now, we're using this compressor, and I really pay attention to the release on the compressor. If I want to smooth something out, I'm going to lengthen the release. If I want to take the top off of the transient or something that's poking through, a snare drum hit, claps up here. I'll show you. Here's another good use. Let's listen to drums here. Okay. Here you go. So that's cool. That sounds cool. But open hi-hat way too loud. I just took it down 8 dB and you can still hear it. Snaps too loud. Just took them down 5 dB. So I'm just using my ears to balance out before I have to use any kind of compression. And my suggestion would be you don't go through each channel, you know, especially as if you're a producer. What are you looking to do? You just want shit to sound better, right? Okay, so you put something on your two-bus, your master, at the very end that you know is going to sort of tame the sound. Let's listen if we just didn't have listen to the inconsistency, not to the volume change, because I'll fix that. Here's with, without. Listen how aggressive the claps are in comparison. It feels like it's breathing. It feels like it's disconnected. It feels like it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing now with engage. Now, every one of our instruments are running through that, not just that.
And we show up.
With it off, the noise floor, the body of the instruments is going to come up because of the compression. Not just the aggressive claps and shit like that. The whole body of the song's going to come up because that square that I was telling you about just had something fit into it that was outside of what the threshold was. So when you squeeze the shit out of something, you get this as well, right? Listen, here's with.
And we show up.
The music's moving.
And we show up. Hit now, hit now.
I'm only taking off a few dB, but when I lose it, just an average bullshit track. Just with that. That's a great, great point. Put this up here. Everybody should circle this. I've heard this a million times, and we're going to talk about it. I think we just showed an example of that. But this is what producers are afraid of. And let me tell you, it is not the compression that's bothering you. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's the way it's being used. And typically, usually, it's the release. And oftentimes also just being too heavy-handed. Right? For example, all of our drums are in this section here. Right? I'll even throw in the 808 to make it fun. Okay. .808. We'll explain what's on there. I'll take that off right now. Do you hear a difference on your... If you're listening on the phone, I don't know. Here's off. Here's on. I'd be curious to hear if you could hear that. On good speakers or good headphones, you could hear it. It starts cutting through a little more. I'm talking about the 808. But anyway, compression on these drums, okay? Let's put something on the drums. I'm going to put something different on the drums. Here we go. The SSL bus comp, and we'll blow it up so you can see it. Okay. I'm not sure why the SSL bus comp. Okay. I'm going with SSL. This is the SSL bus compressor, like from the company SSL. I love this. I love all their plugins, by the way. Okay. So, here we go. So, instead of going through and trying to compress each one of these things, oftentimes, any of these samples that are being used, these have all been processed. They're already coming processed to you. So don't make the mistake of going over there and feeling like each one of these you have to deal with. This is about blends. I'm going to show you that as well. Here, let's do that now while we have the drums up. And then we'll show you the bus compressor. Okay? I'm going to take the 808 out. We're just listening to drums. I just grabbed all the drums and I'm taking them down to 0. All right? We have nothing. Okay. Now, I'm going over to the kick. Oh, they're all together. Hold on. Here we go. Kick drum. I'm going to get good balances, guys. Okay? I'm going to get good balances. I'm going to go through each one of these channels. Let's hear this. Okay, that's a clap. I want that to blend with the snare. I don't want that to overwhelm. I just want that to support. These are snaps. And I'm going to blend all these in from 0 to taste real quick. When I could hear it, I'm going to move that hi-hat over here so it moves to our left headphone or our speaker a little bit. Because I use the stereo field and I'm moving it, it's more apparent. It's not all stuck in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Everything, you got to use the panning, use the stereo field, and allow that to work for you. So that's what I did there. Next one. Open hi-hat. Yeah, we want this to the right. I'm going to use that to my advantage because that's spread out. If I could balance the volume, I'm coming in at a lower volume. Next channel. Okay, cool. I'm going to add some reverb. And I'm going to pan it. Next channel. Bring it up. There we go.
And we so up, looking out, and we so up,
All right.
and we
Now
so
we're
up.
rocking. Back to the other screen. Back to the drums. Let's take a look at this bus compression. So my point in all of that was I just did that in 5 minutes, right? I bottomed out the faders in that group, and I just brought the kick drum all the way up to unity gain. I took the kick drum here all the way up to unity gain, or as close as I could get it, where it felt good. Actually, I'm going to bring it up a little more. Let's see where we are now. Yeah. I thought I was at unity. The point is, I want to be at unity gain with my kick. I want that to be the basis for what everything else comes up foundationally and builds up from. Does that make sense? Okay. The kick is the foundation for me. I'm going to build up from there. And as soon as I have that drum kit quickly panned, just a couple things. Hi-hats are good for that. Ride cymbals are good for that. Crash cymbals are good for that. Shakers are good for that. You know, in the hip-hop world, you know, hi-hat on one side, open hi-hat on another, shaker somewhere else, auxiliary percussion somewhere else in the stereo field. Now you're widening out everything. You're utilizing the stereo field, and that's just with your drums. But those subtle differences added up over multiple tracks start to make a difference. Okay? And now as far as the bus compression, I'm just looking to kiss the needle. No more than 4 dB. If you have oversampling on a plugin, use it. Okay? I'm looking at your comments too, guys. Came a long way since last week, right? And that's the point, yes. So now we're in this stage of mixing it, and I'm basically finishing it off with you guys. And this is what I would do. This is the process I'd use. basically what I would do to like finish off a beat that I was going to send to an artist. And then it would even evolve from there. But let's say I was going to release this to like a BeatStars or something like that. You know, shout out BeatStars. Woo. Let's say I was going to do something like that. Then I'll take you through the process. I wanted to show the metering too at the end, so you know where I'm hitting things. So my stuff is always competitive and loud enough, you know, and not overbearing. It still has dynamics. Speaking of that, let me show you something. Check this out. You want to see some crazy shit? Look at this. Look. This is Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather. The master, remember this, even if you don't know what this is, minus a 9.3 LUFS. Loudness range of 4.7. Integrated level is minus 9.3. Okay? Keep that in mind. Let's take a look at Chaperone. Another Grammy winner. Minus 8.6. 6.5, a little bit more of a loudness range. A true peak of over 0.2. I have a point here, guys. I really do have a point. The last one I have to show, though. Kendrick. A loudness range of 2.8. Check that again. 2.8. Intermittent loudness, LUFS, minus 9.3. True peak. Oh, thank God. At least it's not over like the one before. My point is this, everybody. They're not respecting any of these ranges that are created for the DSPs, and neither are we. But we have to do it in a way that's musical. At least I approach it that way. You could crush shit all you want. I mean, break whatever rules you want. But I'm trying to show you, you know, and have a little bit of sense. By the way, before I forget, please hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. That helps a lot. Okay, so let's check this out now. We brought this drum kit back. I have an auto release on. The attack, I'm letting all the transients through. If I didn't want to let them through, I'd make it a 0.1 millisecond attack, and it'd be clamping down. And as I add more compression, it sort of muffles everything, right? So it makes everything feel muffled. That's because of the attack being super fast. I want to let the transients through. I'm going to let most of them through. I'm going to go to a setting of like 20, and I'm going to have this thing, instead of releasing whenever on an auto release, I'm going to go to one of the faster releases, because I just want it to get whatever is just sneaking out of that box that we talked about before. I'm going to go down here to this side chain, and instead of having this thing compress 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 hertz, I'm going to get it up around a little above the kick drum. So it's more focusing on those snaps and those claps and that snare, and anything else that's living above 90 hertz, which is a bass, some of the bass player, a lot of the bass player, and the kick drum. So it's still getting that, but it's more fixated on the other stuff. And I could play with this, you know, I could eliminate it totally. You see how the kick's still triggering it? Maybe my sense was right, was to lower that kick a little bit. The ride. We gotta lower that. And I'm gonna hit all of these and double click. And I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna tell the gain to be -5 dB. And it just lowered. It's like clip gain on Pro Tools. Fun fact. Okay, so I'm going to actually raise that open hi-hat a little bit. Let's add that bass. We have a clipper on the bass. We'll talk about that another time. This is the melodic loop. This can use some work. Just because it's too choppy. Let's just add a little delay. I don't want the delay to be heard. This is mixing. All right, we're using the delay on the vocal chop. Here's an added part that we could do something with. All right, I played this in. Let's give this some sense of vibe. So I'm going to add some reverb, another reverb. I'm going to call it verb 2. And over here, I'm going to say, give me ROM. What is ROM? ROM is a product from Native Instruments. It's, if you wanted a spacey, airy reverb, this is the thing you want to go to. I'm going to make sure the mix knob's at 100% because I'm using this as a send over here. Okay? So I'm going to send some of this sound there. Now ROM is doing its thing. I'm going to add a little feedback. I'm going to take the diffusion and take it to about somewhere in here. I want it to modulate a little bit. Now I'm going to filter that reverb and take some of those highs out. I'm going to take some of the lows out of the reverb. I don't want that clouding up my mix. Now we went from that beautiful tail from this to it connecting. Can you hear that? And the last piece was just a little string part I played in, but we have the same problem here. That's why I identified these two. That may be a little bit too loud. That's the Pigments plugin. This is made by Arturia. I lowered it a couple dB. Bum, 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 bum. That. Let's just hear that. Let's add that same verb. Let's add a little delay too. Just a little faint in context. All right, before we run out of time, listen, everybody, look. Here's the part that everybody loves. So we haven't done anything other than this C4, okay? If I take it off, our mix sort of, it's still there. But we have two other things that we could do before we get to that two bus. I'm going to take all of these sounds, not the bass, but everything else, and I'm going to hit Command G. I'm going to make that yellow because I make all my buses, groups, subgroups yellow. I'm going to call this music. So now when I solo this, and I'm going to do a little panning. I'm going to make these things a little... I lost a few dB on the vocal. I'm going to give it the regular reverb just for some room. That, I'm going to add the haunting verb. And now, on the group level, I'm going to use... We use waves, curves, equator. This thing is going to analyze all these instruments, a little AI for you. And once it's done, it's going to balance them tonally with each other. And you can see this is the frequency range that they're affecting. And the more I want to bring it down and have more processing, I can handle with this area here. I could also shape this curve so it doesn't affect as much of the bass. Affect the sensitivity and the tilt. Before, we will take this. I would run my group through something light. If I wanted to add a little bit of glue, maybe I'll just use Ableton's glue. It's Ableton's glue compressor. With drums. Now I can lower that music a touch. Barely kissing the needle on this thing. But it brings up that noise floor a little bit when I bring it in. Last thing, the master. I'm looking, like you can tell, we're nowhere close to hitting 0. We're maxing out around -5. I kept everything in the green. Maybe I like to ride a little hot, so I'm living just every once in a while, every time something claps or hi-hats, triggering, just getting into that yellow. That ends up hitting this the right way, so I don't have to bring this threshold crazy down. It's already affecting the plugin the way I want it to affect it without even touching it. But maybe I want to be a little more aggressive, so yeah, there we go. I would add some bus compression. I love the SSL bus compressor. That's what I'm going to add. I'm going to put the oversampling on. I'm going to go with auto release on this one. There we go. Adjusting the hi-hat. How about stereo width? You ever think about that? Watch this. Stereo imager. Watch what happens. Off. On. Listen for width. This way. Off. Listen for space. On. Subtle. Limiter. I use Fab Filter Pro L2. It's gonna get loud. What am I looking for? I'm looking for that limiter to give me some gain reduction of a couple dB just to get the tips. And I'm gonna put that oversampling on because it's gonna give me a more detailed analysis of the limiting. So we're at minus 13. We have a lot more that we could do with this, but if I take you back, that's where before, that's just our master channel. The difference. Right? Now the drums need work for cohesiveness. Messing with the snaps. But there we go. If I turned everything off, if I turned it all off, guys. All right. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Just the groups. Off. I'm going to put these together. In Ableton, if you hit group, Command G, you could group your plugins too and check it out. Now, I have something like Studio Rack right here inside of these. This on-off button handles everything. Just a quick little. Here's where we started. That's where we started. Here's where we ended up. Remember that. Now we're competitive. Now we're competitive. I hope that helps. Get a quick mix routine going. That was my suggestion. I teased that all week. I feel bad we didn't talk more about that. Get a quick mix routine. Even if you're just starting out and you want to just do drums, do what we did here. Get everything at 0. Build from your drum kit up when you're mixing. I don't care how we've talked about how you start beats before in the past and how you start your track builds. Regardless of all of that, when you get to the end of the process, if you're going to be the one mixing it and you want to do it from a practical way, you start with the drums, start with your kick drum, get your snare drum going, get the core of the drum kit going, kick, snare, and overheads. Fill in the other stuff, fill in the bass, then build with your guitars, your keys, your melodic loops, whatever genre of music you're in. And all of that stuff, your pads, your strings, your lead sounds, your vocals. And you sort of build it from the bottom up. You'll be happy with the result. Get into the process of just going from inspiration. Give yourself 10, 15 minutes and zero out all the faders and the pan knobs, and just quickly go from your drums all the way up and get a sound up. And see how quick your instincts get you to the finish line. Until then, I'll see ya. Peace, everybody. Bye-bye. Crush Audio. See you next week.